through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
WION brings you a special business talk show where we bring forth the stories of business leaders.
From breakthrough technologies to visionary leadership. We will unlock the trends, the tactics, and dive into the minds of the industry's most influential leaders.
WION brings you this special series to uncover what drives them in a candid talk show, WION Business Masters.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Modi Gambhir. Let's get started. Our top story tonight on Gravitas takes a closer look at what's happening in Syria, where rebels have launched a major offensive challenging Bashar al-Assad's regime. Russia and Syria have responded with airstrikes. The situation on the ground is only heating up. We join the dots for you and get you the bigger picture. And here's a look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. Russia, meanwhile, is making advances on the battlefield in Ukraine. These are crucial advances. We get you the latest on the Russia-Ukraine war. Is Donald Trump's potential cabinet set to be the wealthiest ever? We do a deep dive and get you the numbers. Are you suffering from what's being called brain rot? We tell you all about Oxford University Press's Word of the Year and what it means. All this and more coming up. top story tonight is about Syria. The war in the country has reignited in a way. Islamist rebels have launched a shock offensive challenging Assad's regime. Russia and Syria have responded with intense airstrikes. Iran has sent a backup to support the Syrian government forces. But what's the story really, and who are these rebels? Why is Russia involved? Why is Iran involved for that matter? What's at stake for them, and how could this escalate the situation in West Asia? Let's dive straight in. Starting off with the very latest. As per reports, Iran-backed militias have entered Syria. They are there to support Assad's fight against the rebel uprising. In fact, they are heading north to bolster the Syrian army forces battling the rebels. These are fresh reinforcements, by the way, being sent to aid the Syrian forces. But who are the Iranian militias helping the Syrian forces? They are Iraq's Kataib Hezbollah and Fatimiyon groups. But it's not just Iran helping the Syrian forces. Russia is helping as well. On Sunday, in fact, Russian and Syrian jets bombed rebel territory. This after rebel groups took control of a string of cities, including most of Aleppo, dealing a crushing blow to the Assad regime. Now, the rebel groups claim to have also entered the city of Hama. Syria's opposition-run rescue service, known as the White Helmets, has said at least 25 people have been killed in the airstrikes launched by Russia and Syria. And next comes the question of why Russia and Iran have become involved in the Syrian conflict. And to answer that, we will have to travel back in time. Nearly a decade ago, Russia saved the Syrian President Bashar al-Assad from the brink of collapse. And in return, President Putin had reportedly promised basically unlimited access to Syria's Tartus naval base. Here's a short history of the conflict. During the 2011 Arab Spring, protests in Syria against the President Bashar al-Assad were met with violent repression. It led to the rise of the armed opposition groups. These forces, backed by countries like Turkey, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, the US, were opposed by Assad's allies, Iran and Russia as well. Russia and Iran had provided military support to the Assad regime. And as the conflict escalated, extremist groups like ISIS gained prominence. The US-led coalition focusing on defeating ISIS, while the Syrian Democratic Forces, largely Kurdish fighters, played a key role in this effort. A ceasefire between Russia and Turkey in 2020 halted major fighting. But Assad's government did not fully regain control, and armed resistance persists. So why now? What triggered the latest flare-up? The rebels say they are responding to increased attacks from Syrian government forces and pro-Iranian militias, but they aim to exploit a weakened government while its key allies, Russia and Iran, are distracted by other conflicts, Russia with the war in Ukraine and Iran with its conflict with Israel. As for the question of who are the rebels, it's basically a broad spectrum of opposition forces, from Islamist factions to moderates. Leading them is Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, a former al-Qaeda affiliate in Syria that used to go by the name Al-Nusra Front. The group officially cut ties with the al-Qaeda and has been the de facto ruler in Idlib. In fact, they have been joined by groups backed by Turkey and others previously supported by the US. Complicating the situation is that some of the rebel groups are also fighting the Syrian Democratic Forces. The Turkish-backed Free Syrian Army, which is part of the rebel coalition that took control of most of Aleppo city, claims to have seized control of the cities in the northern part of the Aleppo governorate. It also claimed to have captured the villages in Aleppo's northern countryside. Those territories were previously held not by the government of Bashar al-Assad, but by the Syrian Democratic Forces. Coming back to the question and the situation that lies right now and the way things stand, Syrian and Russian jets have been striking the rebels in Aleppo and Idlib, and this helped them win back territory during the civil war. Assad also vowed that Syria will continue to defend its stability and territorial integrity. The Syrian Defense Ministry is preparing a counter-offensive, but its ability and willingness to respond remain uncertain depending on the support from its allies. Iran has shown support, with top diplomat Abbas Araghchi visiting Damascus. But with the rebels now controlling Aleppo, including key military sites and the airport, any counterattack by the Syrian army will be challenging, to say the least. Which now brings us to the last and major question. What does this mean for the situation in West Asia overall? Have a look at this map on your screen now. The red spots are the regions currently involved in conflict. Gaza, Lebanon, Israel, Iran, Yemen, Iraq, Syria. Could the situation in Syria escalate to the point of destabilizing an already volatile region further? We will have to wait and watch for that answer. We now shift our attention to the latest in the Russia-Ukraine war. The conflict in eastern Ukraine has taken a rather sharp turn, with Russia intensifying its push towards Velika Novosilka. It is a key town in Ukraine's Donetsk region. In a post on the platform X, the British Defense Ministry has said that Russia is making quote-unquote rapid advances towards the town, and described the town as a quote-unquote linchpin of Ukraine's defense line. So that is how significant these developments are. As per reports, the town, located near the borders of Donetsk and Zaporizhia, holds strategic importance for both sides. For Ukraine, reportedly, it is a critical component of their defensive front line, while for Russia, its capture would pave the way for deeper incursions into less defended territories in eastern Ukraine. As per reports, over the past year, Ukraine reclaimed ground in this region during its counteroffensive, but that momentum has stalled, leaving the region vulnerable to Russia's renewed assaults. In fact, British officials now warn that Russia's capture of Vuhledar, roughly 30 kilometers away, has weakened Ukrainian defenses in Donetsk. And this development has allowed Russian forces to press forward, threatening supply lines critical to Ukraine's southern and eastern operations. The US-based Institute for the Study of War has stated that Velika Novosilka faces potential encirclement, putting Ukraine's logistical links to Zaporizhia and the Dnipropetrovsk regions in jeopardy. But you see, the war is not just confined to the front lines. Cross-border attacks continue to escalate, with drone and missile strikes wreaking havoc on both sides. A Russian drone barrage overnight, in fact, killed 1 and injured 3 in the western Ukrainian city of Ternopil. Reportedly, a Russian drone strike hit a residential building in the city, leading to a massive fire. Firefighters and rescuers could be seen on the site, evacuating the residents and dousing the flames. As per reports, a 45-year-old man died as a result of the attack, while his wife and 2 other residents of the building were taken to hospital. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian air defense systems reportedly managed to intercept 52 of the 110 drones launched by Russia, while Moscow claims it also downed 55 Ukrainian drones within a single day, signaling the intensification of the cross-border hostilities. Meanwhile, Germany has reaffirmed its commitment to Ukraine. In a surprise visit to Kiev, the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz pledged an additional $685 million in military aid to be delivered by year-end to Kiev. Scholz's visit comes as the war marked over 1,000 days of fighting. In a post on the platform X, Scholz emphasized Germany's unwavering support, stating that Berlin remains Ukraine's strongest ally in Europe. Yet, these declarations of solidarity come against the backdrop of a conflict that shows no signs of abating. So where does all of this really leave us? The battle for Velika Novosilka is not just about one town. It's one crucial aspect of the broader conflict. And as Russia pushes forward and Ukraine struggles to hold its ground, the war is showing no signs of ending.
President Trump to negotiate for our freedom.
In the latest, Hamas has released a video showing a hostage calling on the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and US President-elect Donald Trump for help. The hostage has been identified as 20-year-old Eden Alexander. His video marks the first video of its kind to surface in months. Naturally, it has sent shockwaves across Israel and beyond. The video, posted on Telegram, purportedly states that Alexander has been held captive by Hamas for over 420 days. And if true, this would mean that the video was recorded this past week. A stark reminder of the hostages still in Hamas's captivity since last year. In the video, Eden Alexander reportedly speaks in a mixture of Hebrew and English, addressing both Netanyahu and Trump, directly calling out Netanyahu. He states, I'm quoting, "You have neglected us." A heartfelt appeal from a young man living in abhorrent conditions. He also appeals to Trump, asking him to use his influence and the full power of the United States to negotiate for freedom. Alexander's mother, Yael Alexander, has also made a strong statement about her son. She said that her son represents all the living hostages who cannot make their voices heard. And this voice needs to be heard, reverberate, and shake everyone. She called on the world to pay attention to the suffering of the hostages who have been living in darkness and fear for more than a year now. Eden Alexander, a native of New Jersey, was a soldier in the Israeli military when the horrific Hamas attack took place on October 7, 2023. The then 19-year-old was stationed near the Gaza border when he was attacked by Hamas. Reportedly, Alexander managed to send a quick message to his mother amid the chaos. Despite having shredded his helmet from explosions and facing intense fighting around his base, Eden managed to reach a safe area, telling his mother that he would be okay. But that was the last time his family heard from him. And now the release of this video has reignited talks of a ceasefire and hostage negotiations. Pressure is only building up on all the parties involved. The US National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan for that matter, called the video a cruel reminder of the barbarity and the brutality of Hamas. He reiterated that the international community, including Israel and the US, must work to bring an end to this horrific situation. Sullivan also suggested that Hamas, due to pressure from multiple sources, including the recent death of its leader Yahya Sinwar, as well as the ceasefire deal with Hezbollah, may be reconsidering its position. In fact, Sullivan said that Hamas is looking for a way out of the conflict. Meanwhile, Israel's officials say they have been in contact with the families of hostages and are under immense pressure to negotiate a deal that will see the release of captives and the end of the violence. The Hostages and Missing Families Forum headquarters have expressed that the video is definite proof that many remain in captivity and undergoing severe conditions. They urge the international community to take immediate action to resolve the crisis. Remember, Eden Alexander is one of more than 250 people abducted by Hamas during the October 7 attack. Over 240 Israelis and foreign nationals, remember, were taken, including children, elderly citizens, military personnel. Though some hostages have been released, over 150 still remain in captivity, and their families continue to suffer. And now reports say that the calls for a ceasefire and for Hamas to negotiate the release of these hostages has never been louder. Israeli authorities have reaffirmed their determination to bring all hostages home, while the US is actively engaged in diplomatic efforts with key regional actors, including Turkey, Egypt, Qatar, to secure a deal As far as Eden Alexander is concerned, his family and all the hostages still in captivity. The fight for their freedom continues. Meanwhile, wars and regional tensions have fueled the sales of the world's 100 biggest defense equipment makers. A leading think tank, the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, has said in a report that the global arms sales surged by 4% in 2023. This alarming growth coming as the world witnesses the human cost of the escalating conflicts, where military armament continues to endanger countless lives.
As the Russia-Ukraine war and the West Asia conflict rage, revenues from the global arms industry increased to $632 billion in 2023, a 4.2% surge compared to 2022. This is according to a report by the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, SIPRI. The United States maintains its dominance in arms exports, with 41 companies controlling half the market, while Russia's Rostec recorded a staggering 49% revenue increase, reflecting a war-driven economy. In Asia, nations like South Korea and Japan have accelerated arms production, with revenues surging by up to 39% amid fears of regional instability. The combined arms revenues of the 27 top 100 companies based in Europe, excluding Russia, totaled $133 billion in 2023, only 0.2% more than in 2022, the smallest increase in any world region. The two Russian companies listed in the top 100 saw their combined revenues increase by 40% to reach an estimated $25.5 billion. As the Ukraine war crossed a worrying milestone of 1,000 days, Russian President Vladimir Putin approved a record-breaking defense budget, setting aside a staggering one-third of the government's total spending. The 2025 budget allocates about $126 billion to national defense, amounting to 32.5% of government spending. The defense budget is about $28 billion higher than the previous record set this year. Russia's war in Ukraine is the biggest conflict in Europe since World War II. Moscow is currently making gains at key spots and fighting a counter-offensive in Kursk region, the area of Kyiv's only major military success in 2023. Meanwhile, Ukraine is seeking to increase use of ground drones and AI targeting drones. Ukraine says it will need tens of thousands of uncrewed robotic ground vehicles next year to shuttle ammunition and supplies to infantry in the trenches and evacuate wounded soldiers to safety.
This year, we purchased several thousand ground platforms. And next year, I believe we need tens of thousands. They are actively being used in Kursk region and everywhere else on the front lines.
The Russia-Ukraine war played a significant role in boosting global arms production. Defense firms across Europe, the US and Turkey ramped up manufacturing to meet rising demand. The SIPRI report highlights how geopolitical tensions are driving arms revenues globally. In Europe, NATO nations increased military spending in response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
On to Bangladesh now. It has expressed a deep resentment over the violent demonstration and the vandalization of the Bangladesh Assistant High Commission in the Indian city of Agartala on Monday. The national flag was taken down and set on fire in protest, reportedly, against the arrest of ISKCON leader Chinmoy Krishnadas. Bangladesh Foreign Ministry noted with concern that the local police tasked with protecting the premises failed to act promptly to prevent or control the situation from the outset. India's Ministry of External Affairs has described the incident as regrettable. The ministry stated that the Indian government is taking action to step up security arrangements for the Bangladesh High Commission in New Delhi and their other missions in the country. While ISKCON leader Chinmoy Krishnadas remains in detention and has been charged with sedition, Chittagong has been witnessing protests and violence since Das was booked under sedition charges. At least 63 members of ISKCON were denied entry into India by Bangladeshi immigration police reportedly through the Benapole border checkpoint on Sunday, despite having valid travel documents. This comes as Bangladesh government is being accused of persecution of Hindus and other religious minorities. In a post on the platform X, Radharaman Das, the director of ISKCON Kolkata, claimed that the members were stopped by Bangladesh's border police. He in fact claimed that Bangladesh intelligence did not allow them to cross into India. According to media reports, the three temples situated in Chittagong's Haresh Chandra Munsaf Lane were targeted by a mob, and witnesses reported that a group of several hundred people shouting anti-Hindu and anti-ISKCON slogans pelted brickbats at the temple. Donald Trump, the US president-elect, has threatened to impose 100% tariffs on BRICS countries if they attempt to create a new currency or replace the US dollar in international trade. Let's dive into the possible impact of Trump's tariffs and the broader shift towards de-dollarization and what that would mean. Take a look.
Donald Trump's recent threat to impose 100% tariffs on BRICS countries if they attempt to replace the US dollar or create a new currency has sparked concerns about its impact on global trade. BRICS nations including Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa account for about 35% of global economic activity and more than 40% of the world's population. The US, heavily reliant on trade with these nations, faces a significant trade deficit of $433.5 billion with BRICS members. Key industries in the US such as machinery, pharmaceuticals, and rare earth minerals are sourced from these countries, meaning tariffs could lead to higher costs for American consumers and disrupt critical supply chains. The US exports a range of services to BRICS countries, including consulting, financial services, and intellectual property worth over $1 trillion annually. However, as global economy shifts, BRICS nations have begun reducing their reliance on the US dollar. For example, about 65% of trade within BRICS is now settled in local currencies. Trump's threat of 100% tariffs could backfire by fueling further economic fragmentation. BRICS countries, with their growing production surpluses and local alternatives to US products, might collectively respond to the tariffs. A trade war could prompt them to strengthen their own markets, moving away from US imports. Now, this scenario would likely harm American consumers by raising the cost of important goods and potentially lead to job losses as automated production processes replace labor. If the US triggers such a conflict, it may risk losing its dominant role in the global economy, accelerating the shift towards a multipolar world economic system. Still, the dollar's hegemony will be difficult to break given its influence on currencies across the world. Business Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Thank you very much, everybody.
And we now shift our focus to the United States, more specifically Donald Trump's potential cabinet that is fast shaping up to be the wealthiest in history. The president-elect, who reportedly said he will champion the cause of working-class Americans during his campaign, has selected a team of billionaires, Wall Street elites, and financial moguls with a combined wealth of $340 billion. Trump's top-tier appointees, in fact, are reportedly wealthier than the GDP of 169 countries. In fact, Donald Trump himself is poised to make history as the richest US president, boasting an estimated net worth of $5.6 billion. According to Forbes, but even Trump's fortune is dwarfed by one of his most high-profile picks. We're talking about Elon Musk, the world's wealthiest man. Musk's staggering net worth exceeding $300 billion. He's just one of the several billionaires, in fact, reportedly joining this administration. The president-elect has already named at least 5 billionaires for key roles, figures shaping what could be the wealthiest cabinet ever brought together. Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, has, remember, been tapped to lead a new department of government efficiency. Musk, who reportedly poured over $200 million into Trump's campaign, brings not just his fortune, but is also reportedly advocating for massive government spending cuts. Under his leadership, the department will reportedly propose deep reductions to federal programs and workforce downsizing. Joining Musk in the government efficiency department is a billionaire Vivek Ramaswamy with a net worth exceeding $1 billion. Ramaswamy will reportedly co-chair the effort to streamline government operations. Ramaswamy's own brief run for presidency then ended in an endorsement of Donald Trump. And next we turn to professional wrestling mogul Linda McMahon. Co-founder of WWE, McMahon has been nominated to lead the Department of Education, an agency Trump has openly criticized and even considered dismantling. She has a shared fortune of $2.5 billion alongside her husband, Vince McMahon. Now, for the Department of Commerce, Trump has chosen Howard Lutnick with a net worth of over $1 billion. He reportedly has been a staunch supporter of Trump's economic agenda, including Trump's advocacy for broad tariffs. In fact, his fundraising efforts have reportedly made him a key ally in shaping the administration's financial policies. North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, whose $1.1 billion fortune stems from selling his software company to Microsoft, is set to lead the Department of the Interior reportedly. After ending his own presidential bid, Burgum emerged as a vocal supporter of Donald Trump, reportedly aligning himself with the president-elect's vision for America's natural resources. While real estate tycoon Steve Witkoff, with an estimated net worth of $500 million, has been named Special Envoy to the Middle East. He reportedly has deep connections to West Asian wealth funds, which may prove pivotal for Trump's foreign policy in the region. Meanwhile, Scott Bessent, a former hedge fund manager and a donor to both Democratic and Republican causes, will oversee finances as the Treasury Secretary. As you can tell, Trump's potential cabinet is brimming with unprecedented wealth and power. But this has reportedly also sparked a major debate. Critics argue that these billionaires may lack the perspectives needed to address issues and concerns of common Americans, while supporters counter that by saying that their financial acumen and expertise could actually drive efficiency and economic growth. The jury is out. The rather should I say billion-dollar question remains: will these wealthy picks actually prove to be the right choice? Meanwhile, Elon Musk, the billionaire tech mogul, might just be plotting his next big move, and this is not even about American politics. He seems to be eyeing the UK political landscape. You heard that right. As per reports in British media, there is speculation that Musk could pour a staggering $100 million into Nigel Farage's Reform Party. If true, what would that mean? As per reports, Labour leaders and Conservatives alike are hoping this is not true. In fact, Musk has already taken a public swipe at Labour leader and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. And just last week, he endorsed Farage's Reform Party. Clearly, this is not just talk. If Musk acts, though, British politics could see a whole new shift. As per reports, Musk could channel his donation through the UK arm of his social media company, Platform X. And such a move would reportedly exploit the loopholes in rules banning foreign political donations. A rather crafty maneuver, one that perhaps underscores Musk's influence and willingness to shake up the system. For the Conservatives, this could spell disaster. As per reports, Kemi Badenoch, the new opposition leader, has not even settled into her role. A cash infusion for reform could leave the Tories floundering, eclipsed by a more aggressive challenger to the Labour Party armed with Musk's money. This could reportedly shift the narrative and put Starmer's Labour on the defensive. Nigel Farage, meanwhile, is reportedly playing coy. He admits to staying in touch with Musk, but reportedly did not confirm any financial backing from him, stating that they share similar views, highlighting their mutual admiration for Donald Trump. Now, Musk's influence is not just financial, it's also digital in a way. Last week, he reposted a tweet posted by a right-wing account that said that Dame Andrea Jenkins, a minister in Boris Johnson's government who lost her seat to the Labour Party, had defected to Reform and she will be a candidate in a mayoral election next year. Importantly, the tweet also claimed that Reform would win the next general election. This post reached Musk's 206 million followers, you see, and garnered over 159,000 likes. As per reports, both Conservatives and the Labour Party are aware of Musk's rumoured support for reform. They face an uphill battle, in fact, as Musk's popularity outshines Starmer's. Interestingly, polls show Musk holds a higher net favourability rating among the UK voters as compared to Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister. As per a poll conducted for UK's Telegraph newspaper, Elon Musk had a popularity rating of -17. while the British Prime Minister had a rating of -30. So that says a lot. If Musk bankrolls reform, British politics will enter uncharted territory. The billionaire reportedly could transform Farage from a fringe figure into a serious contender. Musk is not just eyeing British politics, he is perhaps gearing up to disrupt it entirely. Cyclone Fengal, which made landfall near southern India's Tamil Nadu and Puducherry, weakened into a deep depression, but heavy rains and floods continue to wreak havoc in several parts. In fact, the Indian Army and the NDRF have expedited rescue operations for the second consecutive day in the cyclone-hit Puducherry, which has witnessed the heaviest rainfall in the last 30 years. The overflowing Chunamba River has led to the flooding of low-lying areas in the Union Territory. Earlier in the day, the Indian Army rescued an infant stranded in a house submerged in the floodwaters in Puducherry. The rescue was done on an inflated boat. Meanwhile, northern Tamil Nadu is reeling under unprecedented flooding. The Chief Minister has inspected Kudalur district and interacted with the affected people and distributed relief. The teams are rescuing people from the low-lying areas, providing essentials to the flood-hit victims and rehabilitating them to safer locations. The Tamil Nadu government saying over 7,000 people across the state have been evacuated and housed in 147 shelter camps. The Indian Weather Agency says Bengaluru and other parts of Karnataka will continue to receive rainfall for the next 2 days owing to Cyclone Fengal. It has issued a red alert for extremely heavy rain in 5 districts of Kerala. Heavy rainfall has been predicted in several districts of northern Tamil Nadu. In fact, our principal correspondent, Siddharth MP, has been tracking those developments very closely. He sent us this report. Take a look.
We're right on the banks of the Chunamba River in Pondicherry, which is in Spate. Here you can see that right outside homes by the river, there's almost neck deep water. All the troops standing in the water are almost 6 foot tall, and for them it's almost at neck deep or chest deep level. Residents on both sides of the river are being evacuated. There is a two-pronged effort underway. The Indian Army is leading the effort on one side. There are troops from the Army's Dakshin Bharat area. They are leading the efforts here. As we speak, an evacuation operation is underway. You can see that a senior citizen is being brought out of her house, and then she's been helped to board this boat. This is a specialized army vessel known as Boat Assault Universal. So this is the one that is used to transport people out of this flooded area. In fact, this is a residential area. So as you speak, kids, there are senior citizens, all of them who are being boarded on board this inflatable vessel, and thereafter will be taken almost a couple of 100 meters away from here. And the reason why people are being moved out is because they've been stuck here for almost 72 hours. There's been no water supply, there's been no power. Even food and water essentials have to be brought to them by boat. There's almost 150 homes here and thrice as many people that live here. So in a phased manner, over the next couple of hours, perhaps through the end, till the end of the day, they'll have to be evacuated in a phased manner. And those that choose to stay must be provided food, water and relief and rescue materials. So this is the kind of situation that prevails. On this boat alone, you can see there are senior citizens, there are children, there are women, all of them getting their valuables along with them. And then they're all heading out to safety, because perhaps for the next couple of days, when the river is in spate, especially when the Chunamba River is in spate, this place will become inhabitable, and only when the water level recedes, can they come back here. And even then it will be a Herculean task, because they'll have to clean out their homes, and then that could take weeks. Only then can they revive and restart their life over here. From Puducherry, Siddharth MP, WION World is One.
There's been a sudden and massive change in weather in Jammu and Kashmir. Temperatures have dropped sharply, in fact, and the Met Department is predicting a harsh winter ahead. There are forecasts of the La Nina effect having a big impact, meaning shifts in wind circulation patterns leading to more rainfall and snow. Our next report getting you more.
The La Nina effect also means more snow and rains in the Kashmir Valley. The Met Department has predicted that the winter period will prolong and will be very harsh in terms of temperature as well as rains and snow. Heading towards what is called the Chilai Kalan, the coldest period of 40 days starting from December 21st, there are reports that the La Nina effect will multiply the impact of cold and precipitation in the valley.
What we had experienced during last winter, it was relatively warm and dry throughout Jammu and Kashmir, not only J&K but Himachal and Uttarakhand also. As a result, fog had persisted much for a longer period over plains of Jammu, parts of Punjab, Haryana and all these things. So this year the global agencies had predicted La Nina over Pacific Ocean. So whenever there are La Nina years, we had experienced heavy snowfall and harsh winters in terms of temperature also.
In the last few years, it is the El Nino that has been dominant in the region, meaning little rain and snowfall in the higher reaches and plains. The Met Department has expressed concern that water bodies and glaciers were melting. Experts say the change from El Nino to La Nina, which creates unpredictable weather conditions, is because of global warming. Weathermen say weather unpredictability would increase with time due to these factors.
Day by day, we are experiencing too much extreme weather events, which are too much high temperatures during summer, too much cold temperatures during winters, and even ununiform or uncertain precipitation even during winters also. So all these things we are studying in climate variability, and it's all globally affecting. So day by day these extreme weather events cases will be more frequent. So we have to adapt to these change also. There is no doubt that climate change is not linked to these things.
Authorities in Kashmir Valley are bracing for a harsh winter. The administration has kept man and machinery on alert for any severe weather events in coming days. People are also being asked to prepare for winter extremes. Kashmir is bracing for a severe and harsh winter from the higher reaches of the Kashmir Valley to the plains of New Delhi. The IMD has predicted La Nina impact, which means that there would be a dip in the temperature in the coming days, as well as there would be too much precipitation in terms of snow and rainfall. And now the authorities in Jammu and Kashmir are bracing up and have put the men in machinery in place to deal with any such situation. With video journalist Firoz Idris Loan for WION World is One.
Imagine a car powered entirely by sunlight. No plugs, no charging stations. Sounds like a dream, right? But Mercedes-Benz is working to make this a reality. In fact, the automaker recently unveiled plans for a revolutionary solar paint that could allow electric vehicles to harness solar energy directly from their exterior. Yes, a paint. The key to the futuristic paint lies in a paste which is basically applied to the car's body panels in a layer that is just 5 micrometers thick. That is thinner than a human hair, by the way. When used on all panels of a mid-size SUV, it could provide up to 118 square feet of solar absorbing surface. Mercedes claims this could translate to significant mileage. In sunny Los Angeles, the system might generate enough power for more than 20,000 kilometers annually. Even in cities with a cloudier climate, it could still yield around 12,000 kilometers. The solar paint is said to be free of rare earths and silicon, relying instead on abundant, non-toxic materials. Each panel is individually connected to a power converter, sending electricity either to the car's battery or directly to its motors. For now, the solar paint remains in the experimental stage. Mercedes has not committed to bringing it to the market. However, its public announcement suggests genuine progress in the tech's development. And if successful, this innovation could redefine the future of electric vehicles, offering a whole new way to drive on sunlight alone. Spending hours scrolling mindlessly through social media platforms, does that sound like you? Well, chances are you might be suffering from what's being called brain rot. Yes, you heard that right, brain rot, which in fact has been named by the Oxford University Press as its word of the year. But what does it mean? It's a term that captures concerns about the impact of consuming excessive amounts of low-quality online content, especially on social media. Let's tell you more. As per reports, the usage of the term brain rot saw an increase of 230% in its frequency from the year 2023 to 2024. According to a psychologist and professor at the Oxford University, the popularity of the word is a symptom of the time we are living in. You might be wondering, of all the words, how exactly did brain rot beat the others to become the word of the year? The other contenders on the shortlist of the dictionary publisher included demure, romanticy, dynamic pricing, but it's brain rot which officially made the cut. Brain rot is defined as the supposed deterioration of a person's mental or intellectual state as a result of overconsumption of material considered to be trivial or unchallenging, and mostly floating around on the internet. Quite interestingly, the term brain rot was first used much before the internet even came into being. In fact, it was first written down in 1854 in a book. You see, the author had used it in the context of criticizing society's tendency to devalue complex ideas. He meant brain rot to be a part of a general decline in mental and intellectual effort. But how did that word then find place in the modern dictionary? You see, the word initially gained traction on social media among Gen Z and Gen Alpha communities, but it's now being used in the mainstream as well. Does it stem from a certain dissatisfaction or disappointment, perhaps, with the online world? Or does it stem from a certain anxiety, the anxiety of missing out on new or updated content on social media that leads to brain rot? According to the president of Oxford Languages, it may be a byproduct of how the internet culture is fast permeating and how our virtual lives are fast evolving. And that has significant influence on who we are, how we behave, how we interact. British singer-songwriter Elton John has confirmed that he has lost his eyesight. He shared the heartbreaking news at the Dominion Theatre in London after the premiere of The Devil Wears Prada, the musical. Elton John, who composed the score for the musical, addressed the audience after the show. This news comes as a huge shock for fans of the musician. At the London event, the multiple award-winning musician said, and I'm quoting here, "As some of you may know, I have had issues